The shared space idea hasn't really entered orthodontics, and we're kind of bringing a nuance, an opportunity to this space to leverage additional revenue with your biggest asset.
Hello there, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Orthopreneurs podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Glenn Krieger. Today, I'm going to blow you away with an opportunity that's sitting right in front of you that I'm willing to wager that 99.9% of you listening to this have no idea that you can even benefit from it. It is mind-boggling. It is something you should all consider. As I'm learning about it myself, it's sort of blowing me away. And the person who's going to tell us all about it is sitting right in front of us, is Shannon Seeberan, who's, I think, VP of Business Development for CMS, right?
Yes, for Cloud Med Spas. Thanks, Glenn.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. So you may not be privy, Shannon, you're not an orthodontist, but you may be privy or may not be privy to the fact that in orthodontics, a lot of us have talked over the last 3, 4, 5 years about incorporating med spa procedures in our practices. There are many people I know who are really adept at injecting neurotoxins or fillers, and they love doing it. But there's also a huge number of people in the orthodontic space who don't want to do it for a whole variety of reasons. Maybe they don't want to incorporate that whole model into their office. Maybe they don't want to have to hire people. Maybe they don't want to even inject. Maybe they don't want to have emergencies, whatever the case may be. And the good news is today, you've got a solution for people to make an honest, fair, moral living while their patients are really well taken care of. Maybe some other benefits we'll talk about in a little bit with literally no risk to them, right?
Yeah, completely. It's just a smart and savvy way to leverage your biggest asset. We didn't invent shared space. That's been around for a while, but we see how it's really booming, whether it's Airbnb and putting that spare bedroom in your house on Airbnb for a couple extra $100,000 a month. Your car that's sitting in your driveway, now there's Turo. So
Right.
it thrived for a very long time. It's still around. But the shared space idea hasn't really entered orthodontics. There's limited spaces it hasn't entered, but we're kind of bringing a nuance, an opportunity to this space to leverage additional revenue with your biggest asset.
So we don't keep people in suspense. We've talked about Airbnb, Turo, like we've talked about these fun things. Tell everybody a little bit about what does CMS do, right? In its general concept, how can I, as an orthodontist, make money on a day when I could be out skiing or playing golf or traveling the world with my family? My office is closed for a week and I'm traveling with my kids and my wife. And yet my team is still working in the office doing emergencies and doing what they got to do, but I'm making money. Please explain to everybody how this works.
Yeah, exactly. And it's under full control, obviously, of the owner of the platform, our clients. So you can think of it, everybody has underutilized space in their practice, whether you think of it as Saturday and Sunday, evenings, maybe a Tuesday, things like that. So there's opportunities to really leverage that underutilized space, generate revenue for yourself that way as well. So what Cloud Med Spas brings to our clients, and I like to use the analogy of OpenTable because I think that's one of the easiest comparisons we have.
Right.
OpenTable is a software platform that empowers restaurants to run very efficient seating schedules, right? They want to maximize the seating at lunch, at dinner, things like that. And so their system really kind of tells them where they are from a capacity standpoint, how the tables turn, things like that. That is sort of what our software brings to the table. So our clients plug in their availability. It might be one evening a week. It might be one Tuesday a week where it's for a couple hours. And it might be every Saturday. And our system is able to communicate how many possible hours that could churn and the opportunity for an industry like medical aesthetics, who is driving a huge wave of entrepreneurs in medical aesthetics and allowing them to access space in addition to product that they need in order to treat their clients.
So at the end of the day, in really simple English, I see this in two really good scenarios. When I'm not in the office treating patients, a med spa nurse practitioner, registered nurse, somebody who's a true med spa practitioner who has a license is coming and utilizing my space for their clients, potentially servicing my clients as well, right?
Mhm.
Because I assume they're bringing their own clients in, which potentially see an orthodontic office and say, wait a minute, I need straight teeth. Maybe
Yeah.
I can make an appointment, right? Like that's a
Yeah.
nice secondary benefit, but they're paying you rent on an
Mhm.
hourly basis to
Mhm.
use your chair, just your chair, basically,
Just your chair.
while your team is organizing supplies, doing instruments, making
Mhm.
calls. They don't have to vacate the office to do it.
No.
Um, and you're making money. And
Yes.
so it sounds like a great opportunity for most orthodontic offices that are not working 7 days a week or 5 days a week. The average orthodontist I know works 3 to 4 days a week in one office, or they have satellites. And so they work 2 days in this one or 3 days in that one. But what ends up happening is they've got chairs that are available, when they're not there.
Yeah.
The second person who I think this could benefit is a young practitioner. Somebody's opening up their practice. They just spent four, five, $600,000 to open up an ortho practice. They've got rent to pay or a mortgage, and their chairs are empty. And if I understand you properly, they can work on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday or Friday. And because they only have 5 or 10 or 15 patients coming in that day or 20 patients, if there's a chair or two that's open, the nurse practitioner or registered nurse can do the mid-level practitioner, if we want to refer to it that way, is using whatever chair they've got while they can still be working in the office, right?
Yeah. Correct, correct. It's not disruptive to your existing practice. And to sort of explain how it works too is, and to understand who are these practitioners renting from you and using your space, it tends to be other medical professionals, RNs and NPs, who are the majority of administrators of these procedures and breaking into this business of medical aesthetics. And so they're professional people. They want to be efficient with their time. They want to be in and out. They want to treat their client. The patient that is coming to see them and be treated by them is coming for them and them only. They're associating their experience with Jenny Smith, who's giving them the Botox for that treatment. They're not associating their experience with the orthodontist or the orthodontist in that space, right? It's not dissimilar to the hair care industry when you think about it. Salons have been renting their chairs for years and years because they understand the client patient relationship is really between the stylist and their client. It's
Right.
not with the spa or the salon. That's the very same relationship that we see in medical aesthetics. And we see the patients really obviously driving this, and the medical aesthetics professionals are the ones that are seeking entrepreneurship. It's a lucrative space. They want to generate their own profits. They want to say
Right.
when they work and decide their schedules. And so to be able to access space, what you are providing them as a client, as our clients are providing, is a space to practice, but also the access to the product that they need. So they are purchasing the product that they need through the software. That product is at your location when they come. They can grab the product, treat their patient, and leave.
It's interesting. I heard somebody probably about 5, 6 years ago. It might have been Bill Maher. I don't remember what show it was on, but I remember the conversation was, I think it was Bill Maher, and I think it was the end, at the very, very end, when he gives his little monologue at the end of his show. And he said, Mom and Dad are renting out their bedroom in their Airbnb. And, Joey is driving his car for Uber. And I remember he said, do you really think these people want to do that? They're doing it because they're living over their heads. They don't have enough money. They got themselves into trouble. They took on too much credit. And if they could choose not to do it, they wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
And now let's fast forward 5 years, right? Airbnb is something people want. People buy homes simply to make them Airbnb.
Yep.
You know, I ask every Uber driver I ever get in with, I talk to them and say, oddly enough, I think episode number 2 is me interviewing on my podcast an Uber driver who is doing Invisalign. But I always ask them now, do you like what you do? And in the digital economy we live in, this is what people want. They want to do this. The reason we have trouble finding dental assistants and front desk people to work in our practices is because this is what they want to be doing instead. And as you explained to me before we went on the air, these are mid-level practitioners who are used to being paid garbage wages for working in hospitals or medical offices where they're not really making a ton of money. They're working on someone else's schedule, And the funny part is this is exactly what I tell orthodontists why we have trouble finding clinical assistants, because they don't want to come work in our offices on set hours in a
Mhm.
set place, right? So this is an opportunity to actually ironically make money on people who are doing to the medical world what
Yeah.
we're having trouble in the ortho world of finding help, because they would rather be their own boss doing
Yes.
med spa than working in a medical or a hospital setting, right?
Exactly, exactly. And we have figured out all the resources and tools they need to be successful entrepreneurs. So, having our own brick and mortar locations, we have onboarded hundreds of different practitioners at our locations. We understand what they need to feel supported and successful as entrepreneurs. And we are very collaborative with our clients who take on our software to leverage this real estate play to support the practitioners in their space too. This is not a transaction. This is not like, here's the software. Good luck. I hope you find practitioners who can rent your space. This is an ongoing collaborative effort. We want to see your location succeed and thrive and generate this additional income. Overhead is, a looming issue with all practices. Especially in orthodontics, rent and real estate continue to increase. The cost of your staff, continue to increase. So, there's only so many margins you can continue to play with and work with. Why not, re-enter? Why not think of a creative way to add an additional revenue stream in your practice? And
Great.
especially something that's non-invasive. It's easy to implement. It doesn't take up a lot of time, and it's not a huge traffic flow. It's very minimal.
And unlike the medical world, where if I was just a standard medical provider and someone came into my office, right, you're the mid-level provider who comes into my practice, and I don't know, let's just say you have 7 patients that day. I'm just making up a number. If I'm a physician, unless you've got an ache, a pain, or strep throat, you don't care about what I'm doing.
Mhm.
But we're in a cosmetic world for many of our adult patients, so that maybe they come in, get their lips done, and decide, you know what, maybe I want some straighter teeth,
Yeah,
right? So you have the opportunity to gain revenue from a referral source potentially, because they've already been in your office. Maybe you've even come over and said, hello.
yeah,
Hey, how are you? I'm Dr. Krieger. Just want to let you know you got a great provider here working on you. Susie's amazing. And just welcome to the office. If you ever have any questions, just ask. Like,
yeah. The
right?
organic
And
networking is huge. It's
that's
makes
how I would do it. And so let's dive into the details just a little bit here.
Yep.
I'm not going to pin you down on this one, but I know the question on everybody's mind right now: what is an average hourly rate that you see from people renting when
Mhm.
you look around the platform from top to bottom? How low and how high? What have you seen?
So
Because
we
people
see,
listening right now, you have people listening from Manhattan or
yep.
San Francisco, and you got people listening from the middle of, say, Iowa or Nebraska.
Yeah. And we currently cover all markets. So we're seeing anywhere from $79 an hour to $129 an hour in a market
Okay.
like Manhattan or Beverly Hills. And so, we with the onboarding, we have this discussion with our clients. What do you think would be a competitive rate that obviously puts you in a good position to earn good revenue, but you're not over exceeding what the market is asking currently where you're located?
Right.
And so we always use the example of $99 an hour. It's a nice round number to use. And based on the information and the data we have learned from our locations that we own, where we have onboarded a lot of practitioners are working smarter, not harder under this model. They're making more money an hour. So they're not working, 20-hour weeks. They're working 10 hours a week, 40 hours a month, because they're generating about $300 to $500 an hour for themselves. As opposed to if they were employees of a med spa doing these same procedures, they generate about a 20% margin on the procedure. So they're making a lot more money. So they're efficient with their time when they're in your space. They tend to see 2 patients an hour. So they're in and out, they're very quick. And so the average, if you take the median of that and the average practitioner who maybe works on the low end 10 hours a month, you could be generating $1,000 alone just in rental revenue from one practitioner. What we have learned with maximizing space is that if that one practitioner is only working 10 hours a month and you have 2 chairs available for a total of 40 hours a month, you could have 5 different practitioners renting for 10 hours a month. So just think about what sort of revenue you're missing out on by not leveraging just extra utilization of your space.
And I want to put it in perspective for a lot of the people listening. So you're a young orthodontist. This is like a no-brainer, right? Because if you have you're opening your office, you're working your corporate job in the meantime, trying to pay your bills, and you're open 2, maybe 3 days a week at the most, you could potentially have 20, 30, 40 hours. You could do more than that because
Mhm.
even when you're there, you're not using all your chairs. And,
Mhm.
if you're getting $100 an hour for 40 hours a week, I'm not saying you could fill it for 40 hours, but if you could, that's $4,000 a week. That's $16,000 a month that,
Yeah.
that you could literally be paying your rent, paying your team, and have profit from that. And for
Mhm.
those who've got very big profitable practices, let's just say you've got a $3 million a year practice, you say, well, what do I need this extra money for and this headache? And we'll get into that in just a minute, or lack thereof. Um, $100 an hour, $100 an hour. You have an admin day. You're not in the office. You've got 4 team members there, each getting paid $25 an hour, working your office during an admin day, right? If you have 4, and for every hour that the med spa worker is there, they're paying your team salary, right? So maybe you don't need the money because you're making $3 million a year, but wouldn't it be great to offset the cost of people in your practice? I mean, to me, this is as close to a no-brainer as you can possibly get. Now, the question after the money is going to be the trouble, right? So, okay, I'm waiting for the other, shoe to drop here. Yeah, I can make $100 an hour. Yeah, I can have potential referrals in my practice. And to be crystal clear to everybody out there, I have no, at the time of this recording of this, I have zero financial interest whatsoever. Uh, right? Have you guys ever been a vendor or sponsor at Orthopreneurs Summit?
No, we have
I
not.
didn't think so. So legitimately, folks, I'm going to try to talk them into being at Summit so you can all meet them and get to know them,
Yep.
and maybe actually ask questions. And this year is, by the way, if you didn't know, Shannon, is we rented an entire Royal Caribbean ship for our summit this year.
Wow.
It's all orthodontist. So if we can
Wow.
get you to be on the ship as a sponsor, you'll enjoy a cruise.
Wonderful.
Um, and shameless plug, if you're not registered, people, go to opsummit2024.com. As of the recording here, we have about 800 people already on the ship. Rooms are going fast, and I'd love to be there. The CE is going to be remarkable, the stuff we've got, but go to the website and check it out. So in talking about what you do now, we know all the good stuff. We've heard the great stuff. Now tell me the nightmare, right? Because there's got to be a nightmare scenario, right? I've got to probably take out a huge insurance policy. I'm probably liable for all the work that's done, right? I
Yeah.
only kid because I know the answer.
Of course. There is no liability. And what's so nice and clean about this platform is it's completely HIPAA compliant. The only thing that our clients see in the software is who is renting their space and when, and the product that they're buying. So they're completely aware and informed of how their space is being used. They have full control of when their space is being used, if they want to remove a room, add a chair, whatever it is. And it's completely HIPAA compliant because you don't see any patient information. You are not privy to the procedures being performed or the transactions being done. Each practitioner in your space is managing their own transactions. They're managing their own EMR, all their scheduling. So you just see Susie Smith coming in from 12 to 2 on Saturday, and that's it. You don't see who she's treating. So it truly is a definition of you are just serving as a landlord in a way in this scenario.
It's beautiful. And
Yeah.
so to date, how many offices would you say have signed up? I mean, I don't know what metric you use. It could be offices, it could be providers, it could be
Mhm.
hours. What metric do you use to sort of demonstrate to people? Because you've been doing this for about 4 years now. You've had brick and mortar locations
Yep.
where you've done it, I think, in Boston and in Dallas, where you actually physically had brick and mortar locations to work out the bugs and understand exactly how this works. So what metric would you use to try to convince me that this is a tried and true method?
So we have our 2 brick and mortars that are still running and successful locations. Our Boston location, which has been running for over 4 years, has about 70 practitioners. We call them members, renting and using the space there. We have 13 rooms. We could easily onboard 100 more practitioners in that space without needing more space. Because with 100 more practitioners, we might be at 40% capacity based on the hours and how people are using the space. So it really, there's a ton of room, there's a ton of opportunity with a small amount of space, if you can understand that. We have been selling our software version of what we're speaking about now, Cloud Med Spas, for just over a year. And we have 16 clients across the country who have purchased our software and who are implementing it at their locations. So,
Right on.
we have a lot of our clients come to us saying, I'm interested in scaling, but before I sign this $5,000 lease, I'm trying to think of a smarter way to ease that pain as I grow my client business, my patient business at that location. And we also have clients that come to us and say, I'm just sick of the insurance margins. I'm tired of, fighting this fight. I want to alleviate some of my overhead and get back to what I love to do, which is treating my patients. So it's been a really, just sort of heartwarming experience in the transparency of what we're offering, because we feel like we are empowering everyone involved. We're empowering the owners to access more revenue for their business, and we're empowering the independent solopreneur aesthetic practitioner who is capable of running their own business, but reducing the overhead and the stigma that in order to start your own business, you need to take on a bunch of capital and risk associated with it.
Yeah, it's amazing. So before we wind this down and close it up, because you've told me pretty much everything I need to know, we're going to get to how people contact you in just a minute. I always love leaving the cliffhanger till the end,
Yeah.
like a great Miles Davis album or John Coltrane. If you look over her left shoulder, if you're watching this on YouTube, right, you can
Yeah.
see the Miles Davis and the Thelonious Monk and John Coltrane down below. So I'm smiling here because I love listening to that. But what questions, if you were me, an orthodontist who is considering this model, I've already learned about price. I've learned there's no real risk to me.
Mhm.
What question have I not asked? Is there anything I should be asking you that I've not yet asked?
No, I would just encourage an informative call, because each one of our clients is completely different from the other, right? The space you have, your overhead you're carrying. What we tend to do on one of the initial calls is really dive deep as to how we go through a pro forma and we go through the actual financial potential of this opportunity. We plug in, a general understanding of what your overhead is, the majority really being your lease or your mortgage or your rent, whatever it is, a lot of your other overhead costs. And we put in scenarios, low to high, about how Cloud Med Spas can add value. And are we adding value in 6 months? Is it 3 months? Is it 10 months? Right. So, and you can kind of see the trajectory on growth with adding more practitioners, starting with 2 on day one, to what it looks like when you have 5 different practitioners in your space from a financial perspective. So we really show you everything, right? And we don't want to hide any potential possibilities. It's very transparent. So I think that's one of the best ways to figure out, is this for you? It might not be for you today. It might be a better scenario for you in 6 months. It might be if you're looking to break into a market, an hour away from where you currently are. The best opportunity is expanding your client reach. And why not do it with a lower risk opportunity? Hit
Right.
those orthodontics patients in a market an hour away, expand your reach. There's a lot of opportunity with integrating this in as well from a scale standpoint.
Yeah. If somebody said, "Look, I want to open a satellite location," really, you want to go invest in a brick and mortar satellite location, and and in the meantime, in your own office, which you work 3 days a week, because you're not opening a satellite if you're working there 5 days a week.
Yeah.
If you're working your practice 3 days a week and you've got 20, 30 hours you can spend, you could make $3,000, $4,000 a month. Sorry, 30 hours a week at $100 an hour is
Hmm.
$3,000 a week. That's $12,000 a month. You may
Hmm.
want to rethink opening that satellite if you could plug this in, or plug this in, get it running, make sure there's money coming in, and use that money to support the satellite that you're now open. I mean, there's limitless options here. By the way, just as a quick aside, because it just popped in my head, does anybody ever build a brick and mortar location for no other purpose other than to work with you? To say,
Yes, we have had just motivated entrepreneurs come to us and say, I love this idea. I want to do it myself. And you don't
yeah,
have to be, in the orthodontic space. You don't have to be in the medical aesthetic space to do this. So it's non discriminatory, obviously.
it's amazing. So the big question: if someone really likes what they heard and wants to reach out to you, what's the best way to contact you?
The best way is email. I give my phone number because I know that's sometimes easier for people to shoot me a text. My email is Shannon, SHANNON, at Cloud Med Spas. That's plural. And then my phone number is 773-398-1999. It was a good year.
Good year.
And so that's
We were all
those
worried about we were worried about Y2K.
we were worried about Y2K.
I remember everybody talking about how don't be in an elevator. Do you remember? Don't be in an elevator when the clock strikes midnight
Right.
because you could be stuck there.
Completely. Everything was coming to an end
Yeah, it's so
that year,
funny.
but it was also title of a really good song, right? So,
Yeah, my first concert, by the way.
really,
My first concert ever was Prince, Purple Rain,
that's great.
1985.
Wow.
Yeah,
Don't date
it's
yourself,
funny.
Glenn.
It's
You were
okay.
only
I'm
10.
50.
You were only 10 at the concert.
Yeah, I'm 56 and proud of it,
Wow.
right?
Good
Every
for
gray
you.
hair you see here was earned.
That's good for you.
So again, if you don't mind, just to make it simple for people,
Yeah.
can you just say your email and your phone number again
Yeah.
one more time?
Shannon at Cloud Med Spas, and it's SHANNON at Cloud Med Spas. The phone number is 773-398-1999. Our
99.
our website is Cloud Med Spas. Make sure there's a S at the end. .com. We have a lot of information on there. We just encourage introductory meetings. Let's figure out if this is a fit for you. No pressure, but just, the wealth of knowledge and opportunity for your practice. It could be there. It could be a fit.
Well, this is great. I've really enjoyed our time together. You're amazing. The
Thank you.
product and the model sounds amazing. I'll certainly be talking to you more about it personally. And who knows? Maybe, just maybe, we'll see you at the summit, and maybe you'll
Maybe
be
on the
a
boat.
sponsor there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks so much. And
Thanks.
again, everybody, reach out to Shannon if you have any questions. And if you do work with them, give me some feedback. I'd love to know how it goes for you. And Shannon,
Wonderful.
thank you for being here.
Thank you, Glenn. Appreciate it.